afternoon. My name is Sheila Lamb, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia Small Business Development Center is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 26 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one advising services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, How to Manage Your WordPress Website, is presented by the Virginia SBDC Network. Please mark your calendars for the next webinar in our digital bootcamp series, Mobile Apps, How to Plan, Execute, and Launch. That's happening on March 17th at noon. I'll drop that registration link into the chat momentarily. We are recording today's presentation, and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted and the chat feature is turned off. But if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box, and we will adjust them at the end of the session, time permitting. We have also enabled the live transcript function, which you can show or hide via your own meeting controls. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session, Cameron Nelson, CEO of Tenzing Startup Consultants. Cameron has over 21 years of experience in technology and is a senior tech consultant in Silicon Valley, helping Fortune 500 companies improve their digital marketing and e-commerce. At the same time, he founded several tech companies, including a software as a service website for tree preservation and a blockchain platform for nonprofits. Cameron is accomplished in language, culture, has an MBA and MA. He believes new technology products have the ability to help shape our world for the better. Please join me in welcoming Cameron Nelson.
Thank you for the introduction. And hello, everybody. Welcome to the session on how to build and maintain your WordPress website. As we've seen probably in the last couple of years, we've all noticed that the pace of changes online with technology is increasing very rapidly. And there's a lot of new updates on how to build your website for your small business or startup that are just changing as we get into the year 2026. A lot of these are built around AI, and so I will be talking about how AI is shaping the experience of building and maintaining a website as it pertains to the WordPress platform. And I hope that this will be an informative view of, how to manage this platform, how to use it. Now, whether or not you already have a website running on WordPress or you're thinking about using the platform for your first website potentially, I'm going to be covering all the basics that you need to know and getting into some more advanced tips and techniques that'll really help you get the most out of WordPress and utilize its features that you need to for your business. So with that, let's jump right into it. We have 4 goals for the presentation today. The first goal is to discover what WordPress is and also what it isn't, and dispel some misconceptions. And we're going to talk about if you should be using it for your business, because every business has different needs and WordPress might not be the only solution out there for you. So I'll be covering some of those alternatives. Number 2, we're going to talk about what Elementor is and learn the basics of using it. This is a editing interface that's very common on WordPress websites, and I get asked a lot of questions about this, so I'm going to cover it in a little bit of detail. Our third goal is to show you how to set up your WordPress website. We'll start by finding your WordPress theme, talking about how to customize it, how to integrate plugins and search for plugins, and how to edit the content of your web pages. And fourth, we're going to talk about how to customize your WordPress website, the settings that you definitely need to go into and change before you can launch your website, and some of the tips and techniques that I've learned over the years of building WordPress websites to help you have an easy and smooth experience and really make WordPress work for your business as a revenue generator and as a source of online customer acquisition. So first, let's talk about what is WordPress and should your business be using it. So WordPress is one of the best tools for creating business websites. Now, as of late last year, December 2025, WordPress is running on about 43% of the websites worldwide. So it has a huge amount of market share. We'll see in a few slides the market share of its competitors, but WordPress dominates the space here. And because of that, it comes with some benefits and also some risks, which we'll be covering. Now, Not everybody knows that WordPress started over a decade ago as a way for people to create blogs back when blogging was a really popular thing for people, individuals, and businesses to do online. But it's evolved a lot since its basic beginnings as a blogging platform into one of the most robust platforms for building websites on. Now, whether you're a very small business or a startup or even Fortune 500 companies, they use WordPress as a platform for their websites. So there is no problem with scale. This platform will work for you no matter how big your business gets. Some of the benefits of using WordPress are that it's widely supported because it's running around 43% of worldwide websites, browsers, whether they're on mobile devices or desktop devices, and if your operating system is Mac, Windows, or Linux, all of those platforms support WordPress. And so whenever WordPress makes an update with its code, those platforms have to update their code, and they're always very quick to do so. So if you're building a website on WordPress, you can be assured that it's going to work on virtually any platform on the internet, any platform that your customers are using. Secondly, is that multiple users can contribute to building your website. You can add as many users and define their roles as you would like with the WordPress platform, which is really handy if you want to give access to an employee or friend or family member or a consultant to do some work with you or for you on the website. And then you can remove their access as soon as the work is done. Third benefit is you can choose your own web host. Now, the host is the company that has a server somewhere in the world, probably in a giant data center, that's going to be hosting your website files and serving them to your visitors. A couple of popular hosts are Google and GoDaddy, which you probably have heard of, and there's many, many others. There are probably thousands of WordPress hosting platforms out there. So you have a lot of flexibility in choosing the one that meets your specific needs, whether lowest price is your main concern or you need some other features, you're going to be able to find that feature and that set of features you need in a host out there. Plugins can add a lot of great functionality and really enhance WordPress websites. Many plugins are free, and some have a small monthly or annual fee to use. WordPress is also built for search engine optimization in mind. Now, I do think, and there's some conversation about, is SEO even going to be important anymore with AI summaries of search results? I'm sure we've all seen as you Google something nowadays, Google pops up with its own AI summary. And that means that the websites aren't even people aren't really going to the websites like they used to find information because that AI summary will often just give them the information they need. But as we go into 2026, my advice is to still have some focus on SEO. It is still important, though it might be slowly being phased out over the next few years, but we'll have to wait and see how that develops. But WordPress has always been built with SEO in mind. So as Google or Microsoft or another search engine updates their algorithm on how they display search results, WordPress is always going to be maintaining its code to be in compliance so you can make sure your website and you can be assured that your website is going to be SEO compliant, at least at a very base elementary level. And the last benefit that I think is really important is that WordPress comes with many customizable themes. Now, even some of its competitors, like Wix and Squarespace, which I'll talk more about, they also offer customizable themes, but WordPress by far has the largest selection of themes. So this is really great because it gives you a big head start on building your website. If you have a niche business or a business in a very common industry, let's say you are a dog walker, and so your business is getting inquiries for your services on dog walking and scheduling these appointments. You can find a WordPress theme, I guarantee it, that's specifically made for dog walking businesses. And this takes a lot of the guesswork out of building a website for you because you can just rely on what the developers have already made for your type of business. Now, one note or point of caution here is that running a WordPress website might not be the simplest or the least time-consuming option. There's going to be some time between 2 and 5 months that I'd say you need to devote to working on your WordPress website, like solving bugs, performance issues, or just updating plugins. Some business owners don't want to even have a commitment of 2 to 5 hours a month. So if you're in that category, a couple better options might be Squarespace or Wix because they do offload more of the tasks and they do them more automatically. But as we'll see, that comes with a few trade-offs. So let's talk about some of those trade-offs and especially how these other platforms that are the main competitors of WordPress compare in some key areas. First off, with WordPress, as I already mentioned, there's thousands of plugins that enhance functionality. You can have different themes. Now, you do have to pay for your own hosting service, and it runs around 43% of websites. Some of the biggest pros, highly customizable, SEO friendly, and there's a huge community of developers out there and people to help you troubleshoot. It does have some cons, which are a steeper learning curve. So because it comes with more customization options, the learning curve is also steeper. Also, if you forget to update plugins, you can run into areas where your website might be more vulnerable to security issues. Something to keep in mind is that WordPress is maintained by a nonprofit organization, and the software of WordPress is always free. The only cost you're going to pay for a WordPress website is hosting, and some of the cheapest hosts, in addition to the Google and GoDaddy that I mentioned before, Bluehost and SiteGround, you can find plans for between $6 and $10 per month. So it does make it a very affordable option, as we'll see, compared to some of their competitors. Wix is another very popular option. It offers a simpler interface for building websites, just dragging and dropping. You can automate website design now using their AI tool, which actually works fairly well. And one nice thing about AI tools is they improve every couple of months. Now, Wix runs about 4% of all websites worldwide. So it's very user friendly. It comes with a library of templates for your starting website, includes the hosting in the price. It's less flexible than the WordPress platform. And if you launch your website using a template, you can't switch the template later on. The pricing on Wix comes in between, and it's a big range here, between $17 and $159 per month. $17 will not get you many features that a business will need, like e-commerce, shopping carts. So that's going to be only applicable if you have a very simple website. It's maybe just a one or two pager. There's a contact form. You can build that on Wix and pay around $17 a month. But many businesses will need to pay more to get access to e-commerce selling and other features. Next on the list is Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one solution to build your website on. It also offers really nice looking modern website templates. It has all the tools you will need for e-commerce selling, if you want a blog, portfolios for artists, things like that. And it currently runs about 2% of all websites. I think the biggest pro with Squarespace, it has a very appealing user interface, and you can build nice looking websites. They really have a focus on mobile friendly, which means, or mobile responsive, which means that your website will work flawlessly on a mobile phone as well as on a desktop. And I'll also say that any of these platforms nowadays will build a website to make sure it's mobile responsive and mobile friendly. Squarespace just has a little bit more focus on that. But some of the cons of Squarespace is it does offer less flexibility to customize your website than WordPress does. And WordPress has thousands of plugins to extend the functionality of your website into different areas, often at no cost to you. Squarespace has a very small number of integrations like this, and they can be much more expensive. And the pricing on Squarespace is they have plans for between $16 all the way up to $99 per month. And so that you can see their lowest tier is pretty comparable to Wix. But for many business owners, you'll be looking at the $23, $39, or even $99 per month category just to get access to the features you need for your business online. And the last option here is Shopify. Shopify is great if your primary goal is just to have a storefront online because it's really focused on helping you sell with e-commerce, mainly physical products, because it offers a lot of great tools to help manage your inventory. And it will also offer you a credit card swiper if you have point of sale sales that you want to integrate into your your database of products and your inventory of products, and it will help you manage online and in-person sales in one place. It's very convenient. It currently runs about 5% of all websites. Because it's a very e-commerce focused platform, it integrates the payment very nicely. It's easy for you to manage taking payments and getting payouts and handling taxes and all that stuff. It makes that a seamless and frictionless experience. Though it does have pretty high monthly fees, and you can see they even have tier that goes up to $400 a month. That's probably not necessary for many of you, but you might expect to spend the $65 a month tier to get access to the shopping capabilities and the selling capabilities you're going to need. So as you compare these four options, you'll see that WordPress, it offers the most flexibility, it's the cheapest, and it runs on more websites run on it. Now, the biggest con is the learning curve, but hopefully throughout the rest of this presentation, you'll see the screens and the features, and you'll get more hands-on experience with them than you maybe currently have to give you a better sense of that you can manage building a WordPress website. Because I think the truth is everybody here can, and I've worked with dozens of entrepreneurs every year building their WordPress websites, and I've seen personally that with a little bit of learning and curiosity, anybody can manage a WordPress website. Now, I mentioned that AI is changing a lot of things with online shopping, and that's also true with building websites. WordPress is not being idle when it comes to improving its services and its experience with AI. So, what are some of the things you can do with AI in WordPress now? First off, they have a website builder that is an AI website builder, and it can generate complete layouts and even content for you to start building a site. You can also use a third-party plugin called Jetpack, which can generate and transform content. And this is a bit more of an advanced technique, but if you have any workflows on your website, like taking an order, sending an order confirmation email, or many more complex things that might take you manual steps, Jetpack is a way to automate that. And with their AI tool, you basically just type in what you want it to do, and it will kind of write code and integrate things on your website for you. So it's a very powerful tool. And Jetpack is a plugin for WordPress that you do pay a little bit of money for. Now, with any use of AI right now, I recommend that you will double check any of its output that you will put online for things like its accuracy, the tone, making sure it's consistent with your brand and what your target market is looking for, and that it's in compliance with regulations and laws. AI doesn't always get those things right, so don't jump into it without checking those things. Just down here below is a screenshot from WordPress's page about how they use AI, and it says, start with an idea and watch it become a website. So you can see here, there's some blue text. Somebody typed, start a landing page for my bakery. And in the beige box here, it's starting to build a website from scratch. Now, probably the websites it's going to build from scratch from a simple prompt like this aren't going to be mind-blowing or anything that's amazing and nobody's ever seen before. They're going to be pretty standard cut and dry websites. But the real advantage here is that you could say, I would like 3 images, not just 2. You don't need to code it. You don't even need to drag and drop an image placeholder and just put it on this page, but the AI will rewrite the code for that. So there's a lot of possibilities, and this is evolving very quickly. So I'm sure in a few months, the experience with AI in WordPress will be even better than it is today. And that's true with all the competitors. So just keep in mind, things are progressing at such a rate that you can just simply type what you want. And I'm sure by the end of the year, we'll see this as being one of the most common ways websites are being built. So now that we've covered the WordPress competitors and you hopefully have a sense of which platform is best for your business, I want to give a brief preview of Elementor. Elementor is an editing interface that lets you, once you've built your website, lets you manage the content. So say you want to put in some new text, swap out an image, and things like that. These are the most common things you'll be doing as a business owner on your website. Elementor is the most popular building plugin and offers a very compelling visual drag and drop interface. Now, as I mentioned, AI is kind of making drag and drop interfaces obsolete because you'll no longer even need to do that step. AI will be rewriting the code on the web page for you based on simple things you type in. And Elementor is also adapting to this reality. They are also experimenting with AI prompts, and it will essentially build websites and modify websites for you. So we'll have to see how this develops throughout this year, but Elementor, it will come up as you look around at WordPress websites and themes. And so I just want everybody to know really what that is. And Elementor is used on about 31% of WordPress websites currently. So it is a very significant part of people's experience as they build and maintain WordPress websites. Here's a zoomed in view of what using Elementor looks like. It offers here on the left kind of the drag and drop interface. So you can pick an area. Sorry if the text is small, hard to read here on the left, but it says things like heading, a button, a space, a video, a spot placeholder, things like that. So you will drag those over and build a website. It's the drag and drop editor. There's a free tier of Elementor, which allows you access to this drag and drop editor. It has some templates and some basic widgets, which are just things that can go onto your website, like a scrolling picture view or something like that. You can also have a pro version of Elementor, which includes things like a theme builder, a WooCommerce builder. So to get more fancy with your e-commerce product displays and checkout process. Also creating pop-ups, which are of course very popular on web pages, kind of like popping up with an offer, and forms that people can fill out. So the free and the pro tier offer those different levels. And again, I think you will see these things changed significantly throughout this year as AI is integrated into these and is how the Elementor team figures out what people want AI to do for them. So, what are some of the best security practices if you have a website built in WordPress? Well, security is important for your online reputation. You don't want your business website to be hacked, both because it could steal personal information about your customers and their purchases, but also some other they could go after company secrets or anything that you might be storing on your website. So, how do you secure a WordPress website? Because WordPress powers such a large percentage of the internet, it's a major target for hackers. But also, the WordPress team is constantly making updates to patch vulnerabilities and flaws in the code and exploits that people have found. So it's a constant cat and mouse game. We've seen this happening for almost a decade. And I'll also say that none of the other competitors of websites are entirely bulletproof either. They're all targets, and hackers do occasionally find vulnerabilities in almost any website hosting platform. But I think that WordPress, because it's such has such a good reputation and has been around a long time, they do take their security very, very seriously. And like I mentioned, you want your website to be secure to protect your reputation, user data, and also ensure your website doesn't go down. So, what are the four ways that you can secure your website? The first one is to always apply updates. Your plugins that you use on WordPress might occasionally have an update available. This generally improves performance, compatibility, or addresses security concerns. So it's very simple, and I'll show you how in a moment to keep your plugins and your theme updated. Number two, and this should be pretty obvious, but implement strong passwords for any administrative logins. Now, WordPress by default has a built-in random password generator. Of course, the passwords that the generator makes are very long and complicated and are essentially not hackable because they're so random. But you should definitely never use a common password. That's the first thing a hacking bot or automatic hacking program will try to do is log in as an administrator with the common passwords. There's also several good security plugins which can give you an additional layer of defense. And some of the best ones are WordFence, Securi, or Solid Security. And they'll provide you even real-time protection against common threats, firewall protection, which closes off ports, malware scanning, security hardening, and things like that. Now, all of these plugins they're linked to right here. And so when you get this presentation in your email, you can simply click on them if you want to learn more about them. They all have a free tier, and then you can upgrade if you want more security features, and you can pay for those with these plugins. Generally speaking, I get asked a lot and people ask, do I need a security plugin? My general advice is no, most businesses don't if you follow the rest of the advice here. But for those businesses that are especially concerned with security or feel like they might be a particular target for hacking attempts because of the nature of their business or what they're selling, then I would definitely think that $20 or $30 a month subscription to a good security plugin would be a worthwhile investment. And lastly is to limit the number of login attempts that can be made. By default, WordPress doesn't do this, so a hacking bot could just try common passwords many, many times, hoping to get lucky. Now, you can have a few simple ways to limit login attempts, and here's a couple of plugins I recommend for that. I do think this is a pretty basic security measure that can be taken right away on any WordPress website. It does never hurts anything, and it gives you that extra layer of security, knowing that a computer out there is not just trying unlimited passwords until it gets one right. Now, I want to talk a little bit now about WordPress.com because I get asked this a lot, and there's quite a bit of confusion as people are looking into WordPress to build their website on. They wonder what's the difference between WordPress.org and WordPress.com. And there is quite a bit of difference. And the short answer is that WordPress.org is the platform you should be focused on for selling online and for your business. And WordPress.com is only going to be useful to a very small number of business owners. And I'll tell you the differences. WordPress.org gives you the full theme support. So any theme you find out there, like for the dog walking business example, or many of the other thousands of themes, they're all supported on WordPress.org. But WordPress.com locks you down much more strictly and only gives you access to a few themes that they've picked. WordPress.org allows you to install any plugin that's available in the plugin store, which is a great feature. WordPress.com gives you access to a very limited number of plugins. On WordPress.org, you pay the hosting fees that can start between $6 and $10 a month. WordPress.com gives you the hosting for free, up to 3 gigabytes of storage, which is probably enough for many of you. WordPress.org gives you full e-commerce freedom right out of the box. So you can build a store, you can take credit card payments with a plugin, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But on WordPress.com, you have to upgrade your plan to a rather expensive $45 a month to be able to sell any products. WordPress.org gives you complete branding freedom. You're not locked into displaying the WordPress.com logo in the bottom of your website, whereas WordPress.com websites are going to have things like that unless you pay extra to remove it. And that doesn't look very professional. WordPress.org gives you complete freedom to run and manage your SEO, your search engine optimization, on a very advanced level, whereas WordPress.com gives you much more limited control of your SEO. So if you're a big business or even medium size, you would never consider WordPress.com because you really do need to fine-tune your SEO. WordPress.org offers you full analytics and data views. You can install any kind of analytic software you want, including Google Analytics or Facebook Pixel. But on WordPress.com, they don't allow those generally. They have their own limited view and their limited dashboard of analytics, which gives you access to the basics, but it won't give you access to things that you'll probably want as your business grows. And on WordPress.org, like I mentioned, you'll be spending 2 to 5 hours a month doing maintenance, which includes updating plugins, updating the software just essentially by clicking a button. So it is really easy. But on WordPress.com, they do all the maintenance for you, so you don't have to take that step. So really, WordPress.org is the best option here. And if you do build a website on WordPress.com, there's no way to transfer it over to WordPress.org. So you would have to build a new one from scratch using WordPress.org. So hopefully now you're clear of the difference. And for most of you, WordPress.org is the platform you will need to focus on. So if you've chosen to use WordPress.org, one of the first steps you're going to take is to find your theme. And the theme is the starting look and feel of your website. This is what's available from many different places. You can just Google WordPress themes. You'll find other stores and other places to download them, sometimes for free and sometimes for a small one-time purchase. But these are 3 sites that I like and I would recommend you look at first as you're exploring finding your WordPress theme. The first place is the official WordPress website. They have some updated themes every year. They come up with a few new ones, and you're free to use these on your WordPress website. They're generally speaking not very fancy or advanced. They're simple and they are modern. That's the best thing that can be said for them. But for many businesses, they probably won't be enough. And so I like the middle one here, Theme Forest, as they have a great selection of themes from developers all over the world who have built custom built themes for industries, even really obscure industries. You'd be surprised what you can find here. So some of these websites are free, and some of them you'll buy with a small one-time purchase between $20 and $80. And the last place is ColorLib. Again, these are professionally designed themes for WordPress from developers all around the world. And you can also look here to find your theme. So no matter where you find the theme you want to build your website on, you will download it in a zip file format, and I'll show you in a couple of minutes how to upload that theme to your WordPress website and start building with it. So SEO is an important part of letting your website be found. And I want to talk briefly about how do you increase your SEO score, your search engine optimization score, which really is how do the internet search engines like Google and Microsoft and even Facebook and things like that, how do they decide to display your website high up in search result rankings? Well, there's four main reasons why SEO is important. And four main reasons, I should say, where you can improve the quality and the score. The first one is the quality of your content. So in these cases, the website will look directly at the web page and they'll look at the spelling of it, they'll look at the grammar and punctuation. If you have any oddities there, you will get a lower quality of content. So you want to make sure that your website text is just very proper, grammatically correct. You don't want too many abbreviations or slang or weird punctuation marks because all of that looks a little suspicious to the algorithms that search engines use to give a quality of content score for the SEO rating. Number two is the level of user engagement. This means how long do users spend on your website? If they leave after just a few seconds, this will indicate to the search engines that your website's not what they were looking for or doesn't contain quality content. So you want to encourage people to spend more time on your website. This increases this part of your SEO score. You can do that by having interesting pictures, a short video they can watch, and so if you can get them to spend 30 seconds or 60 seconds on a web page, that's much better than 2 or 3 seconds. Thirdly is mobile friendliness. Now, this isn't so much of an issue nowadays, but even a few years ago, if you had built a website, it might not have been built up to a standard that mobile phones would be able to display it properly. So the search engines will look at your website and make sure it's up to standard, that it's mobile friendly, that it's mobile responsive. And those basically mean the same thing. So if you're building on WordPress with any theme that you find in the last 2 or 3 years, you can be pretty guaranteed that it'll be mobile friendly and you won't need to worry about it. It'll automatically change its form factor to fit mobile devices. However, if you have a website that's older than 3 or 4 or 5 years, you might be running into issues now of compatibility, and your website might not be displaying as it should on mobile devices. So you would want to check that if you have an older website and consider upgrading to a newer theme that has better support for modern mobile devices. And point number four is the number and the quality of your inbound links to your website. Inbound links mean that the other websites are pointing to yours. They just have a link to your website somewhere on them. It could be a blog post, it could be a product listing page, it could be on their homepage or their about page. It doesn't really matter where the link is as long as you have lots of links pointing to your website. And you get a higher score here if the website pointing to yours has a lot of traffic on its own. So a website that gets 10 visitors a month isn't as good as a website that gets 10,000 visitors a month that's pointing to yours. So to improve this, you can think about what kind of partners, suppliers, or other influencers might be willing to list your website on theirs. And the more of these you can get over time will really help increase your SEO score. So now I want to segue a little bit and talk specifically about the WordPress layout. This is called the dashboard. And anybody who's ever managed a WordPress website before will be instantly familiar with this layout because it really hasn't been updated in several years. Even while some of the competitors, I would say, are getting more streamlined and sophisticated and more modern with how they let you manage your website, WordPress is still stuck with this one that looks a bit dated now, but it's still very functional. So what I'm going to do is take you through the main sections here, what you need to know about them to have a good experience building and maintaining a WordPress website. Over on the left, you'll see the toolbar where you have the main sections of your website that you can go into. The most important pages here that you need to know about and that I'll be showing you include the media section, the pages, the appearance, the plugins, the users, and the settings. And now all of these do need to be properly set up before you can launch a WordPress website. And there'll be other ones in your left-hand menu, depending on the plugins you install, they can put additional things there. So you might have a lot more on your WordPress website, and that's fine. Each of those serves their own purpose, so it's a more of a custom discussion about your website. But these are the default ones, and I'm going to show you how each one is used. Firstly is the media section. This is where you upload and store all of the images for your website. And then the best thing to do is that if you have already collected images you want on different pages of your website, just to go ahead and upload them all here. And that way they're ready to go as you want to swap out an image that's a default image on a template with your custom image. You have it right here ready to go. And that makes it very quick and simple. From here, you can also delete images out of the media section, which frees up some space on your server. But for the most part, you can store images here, even if you're not using them on your website, in case you want to use them in the future, and it doesn't really harm anything. Next is the Pages section. On this tab, you'll be able to see a list of all the pages on your website and an edit button that allows you to quickly jump in and make edits. You might also see, if your theme is running the Elementor plugin, you'll see an option that says Edit with Elementor. If you see Edit with Elementor, that's usually the best thing to do. Again, it's some powerful editing interface. It comes bundled with a lot of themes. So if you have that as an option, I would definitely use that. But as a default, you're always going to have the ones you see here, which are Edit, Quick Edit, Trash, and View of each page. And you can make edits using the older kind of edit interface by clicking the Edit button. But editing with Elementor is generally a much better experience. It's a more premium experience and it's a bit more intuitive. On this page, you can also create a new page for your website or delete pages that you don't need anymore just by hovering over them and clicking Trash to delete. On this tab, you're able to manage all of the themes that your website has the ability to use. Now, generally speaking, you're going to research a theme carefully before you start building a website. Pick one that really, really resonates with you and what you think your target market will like. And you will either get that for free or buy it. And then here you will install it and it'll be listed here. And you only need to do that once. It's generally not recommended to switch your website theme once you've built a website because most things won't get translated over. If you have an image and a text block on the old website, it's likely not going to get translated over to a new theme properly because each theme, the items just don't line up one to one. So take your time and research the theme you want first before you start building a website, is my advice. It's much easier to do that than it is to try to switch themes 6 months or 12 months after you launched a website because you didn't like the theme you picked. But regardless, this is where you go to upload the theme and to manage its features. And I'll be showing you that in a live demo here in a minute. The next section is to manage your plugins. Plugins, again, give you that additional bit of a feature, whether it's and more security, whether it's limit login attempts, whether it's an e-commerce plugin like WooCommerce. All of these are plugins. Some are free, some you pay for. You can find them through the plugin store, and this is where you go to manage those. Now you'll see that some of them have a little beige banner that says there's an update of the plugin, and all you need to do to update it is click a button that says Update Now. So it is really very simple, and generally speaking, I would recommend that you always update plugins when there's an update available to make sure you're the most compatible and secure, and that you don't have anything that might cause your website to crash or become vulnerable to hackers. And updating a plugin very rarely will cause any issues. I've only seen that happen once or twice a year, and out of like thousands of plugins being updated. And usually you can roll back on a plugin update if it does cause an issue. So I'd always recommend you update plugins when you can. The next tab is the user management tab. And this allows you to create those additional users that I mentioned that can help you build your website, whether they're a employee, a consultant, like a marketing consultant, or a friend and family member who's going to help you update or build pages. You can each create them their own unique login, give them permissions so they don't have full access like an admin, but they just have the access that they need to do their job. And then you can also quickly delete their login, their access when their work is done. So this is a great way to keep your website very secure. You never want to share your default administrative username and password with anybody else. That should just be for you. And this is just a good security procedure. And WordPress gives you this feature at no extra cost. And lastly are the general settings. These are the more foundational settings for your website. And these are going to be the same no matter what theme you pick or what plugins you have installed. These are just going to have things like your site title, which is what appears in the top of the website browser, tagline if you have it, things like your administrative email, that if you have a contact form, this is where the emails get sent, your time and date format, etc. So generally, you can just go into this once, set your settings, and be done. So I briefly want to talk about WooCommerce. I get asked quite frequently, well, if I want to sell products on my WordPress website, what's the best way to do it? So WooCommerce is the largest e-commerce platform for WordPress websites. In fact, 20% of all WordPress websites run WooCommerce. So it has huge market share. It's very popular. It's a very customizable plugin. You can sell your products, whether they're physical or digital, and it really does give you all the features you would expect. Do you want to collect sales tax? It'll do that automatically. Do you want to calculate shipping charges? It'll do that automatically. So it basically is a one-stop place for adding your e-commerce functionality to your WordPress website. And it's also, I think, relatively simple considering how much flexibility and options it gives you. There are some tutorials that talk about using it in quite a bit of depth, and there's groups to help answer questions. But I'm sure everybody here can go through the very simple steps of using WooCommerce. And once you've figured out its layout, it's pretty easy to continue to use it and maintain your website. So if your template on WordPress doesn't already come with WooCommerce and you would like to add it, it is very easy. The first thing you'll do is install that plugin, and then in step one, you'll configure some basic settings like your location and what kind of currency you want to sell in. Step number two, WooCommerce will ask you to choose your payment gateway. So as a seller, you'll need to get paid Stripe, PayPal, Square. These are some of the most common payment processors online. There are others, your bank, if you're like with Bank of America or Chase, they might offer their own integrations with WooCommerce. So if you already have a business bank account there, you can use that and they can deposit the funds there. So that all happens in step two. And then step three is where if you're shipping physical products, you can configure your shipping methods, the carrier, the rate, any special rules and things like that. So it is a little bit of a walkthrough wizards type scenario to set it up, and it just asks you questions one by one. And if you have all the answers, like you have a bank account already and you know your shipping, then setting up WooCommerce is very, very easy. Once you've gone through the wizard in WooCommerce and you're ready to add some products that you want to sell, this is the interface you'll be looking at. You can see you can have a product name at the top. You have the ability to type in some paragraphs of a text of a description and then actually add images or a video here if you would like. And then as soon as you click the blue publish button, this product that you've just created will go live on your website and it'll be able to be sold for whatever price you set for it. So you can have unlimited number of products with WooCommerce, and you can go through this process one by one with them. Or if you have an Excel spreadsheet that actually has this data, product name, product price, description, things like that, you can upload a spreadsheet and this can auto-populate hundreds or thousands of products for you. So several different ways of adding products. Here on this screen is where you would set your product price. You can have a regular price, a sale price. You can set your inventory for each product. You can set your shipping policy or price and some more advanced policies and procedures around certain products. So again, it's a very full-featured selling platform, e-commerce platform, and WooCommerce is generally the one I recommend if you're building a new WordPress website and you do want to sell your products on it, whether they're physical or digital. So I want to jump over to a live demo now of a website just to show you how this actually works in practice. So here we have a live WordPress website. It's one of mine. And we see we have some text and we have some elements here. So I want to show you how you'll go about editing this. Because I'm logged into WordPress, I see a banner up at the top with these options. We see a drop down that has my WordPress dashboard. So I'm going to hop over to that. And we'll see this is the dashboard, just like the screenshots, but this is the live website right now. So if we go to media, we'll see these are all of the media images that are ready to go on this website. Now, they don't all have to be used. They're just waiting here. You'll see some of them on the bottom came with the WordPress theme. No, I did not pick these myself. They're part of the theme. And the other images on the website are ones that I added that I wanted to use for my own specific business. To add a new image is very easy. You can just go to the top here and where it says add new media file and click on that button. And then you can select your images, usually JPEG, but they could also be PNG format, and you'll upload them. So it's very easy. You can upload one at a time or many. You'll see here that there's a maximum upload size. On my server, it's 2 gigabytes, which is actually a very massive file for an image. Your website host might have a different maximum upload size, maybe 20 megabytes, maybe 100 megabytes. I set 2 gigabytes as a custom thing because I had a few needs for that, but generally speaking, whatever the maximum upload size is should be fine for most image files. And for best common practices, you want to have as small of a file size on your images as possible so they load relatively quickly on your website. So if you're taking images from a DSLR camera or even your smartphone, they could be coming out very large in a file size. They could be 5 megabytes or bigger, which is quite big to put on your website. So before you upload them here, I would recommend you go find an online image compression tool, and you can do that just by Googling it. And you can shrink the size of your image file without reducing its quality that's perceivable, and then you can get a much smaller file size to upload here. The next section that I want to talk about is the pages section. And you can see here as I hover over the 5 different pages that came included with my theme, we have some options of edit, quick edit, trash it, or preview it. And they all have the same menu. Now, I don't have Elementor on this website, so I don't see that button edit with Elementor. But if you did have that and you notice that here on the side, then you can click on that to edit your web pages instead of the default edit. Another thing to note here is that the home page is labeled as the front page. So with any website, you need what's called an index page, the starting page of the website. If you don't have this, then generally people who go to your domain name will just get an error message. On WordPress, they designate this index page with the front page label. So you can feel free to delete or trash any pages, but you don't want to, or you can't do that, I should say, with your home page. If you do, that would break your website. So anything labeled as the front page, you can't trash it. And if you tried and it let you, then you would break the website. So just something to note there. Now, if I want to go to edit the home page, I'll just simply click the edit button here. And it's going to jump over to an editing interface. And here we can see that it's the website, but I have a few extra things going on here. The first thing to note is that the editor, and this is true with Elementor as well, is that we're in what's called a WYSIWYG editor, which means what you see is what you get. So you can just click on any element here and then change it and retype it. So if I wanted to edit some of this text, I just simply click where I want and retype it. So it's a visual editor, and this is a very simple way to edit the content of your images and your text. Anything you see, you can just quickly change to something else. And when you're done making changes to a certain page, you can click the Save button up at the top. And this might also be called a Publish button, but if you see Save or Publish, depending on your editing interface, that will make the changes you just made live to the world. So it's as simple as that. You make your changes and you click Save. So I won't click Save in this case. I will just leave, and I'm getting a warning that says your changes may not be saved, and I'll say, that's fine. So I'm going to hop back over to the dashboard real quick. That was showing you the pages and how you just quickly edit the content of a page. When you get your default, when you create your website and you've gotten your default template set up, you'll have the pages just like this laid out here. And you just go through those pages one by one and swap out the text and the images with the ones you need. Now let me go over to the Appearance tab. The Appearance tab is not needed. You don't need to go into here very often, but this is where you go to set up your new theme. So if you found a theme on themeforest.net or WordPress's own website, you will download that in a zip file. And all you need to do to add it is you click on the button at the top, Add New Theme. And this is, by the way, showing you the WordPress default themes that I mentioned. They give you these, they update them every year with a couple of new ones. They can be fairly useful, but some of them are also pretty bare bones. And so you can find your website right here, or you can find it on a third-party site. If you find it on one of those third-party sites, you'll click the button Upload Theme, and here it says, if you have the zip file, you just upload it here to use it. So it is very easy. You get the zip file, you upload it, it then installs the theme. Once you've done that, you'll have the new theme here in this list, and you just hover over it and you click Activate. So you can activate any theme that you see in this list. There's currently 4 here, only one of which I'm using. It's actually this one right here that I'm using. The others have the Activate button, so you know they're not currently activated. You can only have one activated theme at a time. And like I said, it's not easy to swap over and use a new theme. Well, technically it's possible. I could click activate on one of these other themes. It generally has pretty poor results and ends up breaking a lot of things, and you end up spending time fixing them. So consider switching themes as pretty much building your website all over from scratch. Next is the plugins section. Here you can see all of the plugins that are running on this website. You can actually hover over a certain plugin and click deactivate, which it would show up in this list, but it wouldn't be activated. So that can be handy if you're just testing a plugin temporarily and you don't want to forget what it was. You can deactivate it. It won't be active, but it's still here so you remember what it was and what it was doing for you. On this website, there's actually a lot of updated plugins that need updates. Each one of these that has a beige banner needs an update. So I'll just pick one and we can click the Update Now button. And you can see that one updated just within a few seconds. And now it's the green bar and it says Updated. So if you check your plugins once a month or so and update any that need to be updated, you're going to be ensuring the broadest compatibility and having the best security. Also, what you can do on the plugins is add a new plugin. So if I click the button up at top, Add New Plugin, you're going to come to here, which is a bit like a app store, like on your phone. But there's many, many plugins here. I don't think it says how many are in the store, but it's in the tens, if not hundreds of thousands. But what you'll find useful here is searching for something. So let's search for WooCommerce. So I searched for WooCommerce, and we can see here that WooCommerce, the plugin itself, comes up here on the top left. And there's also coming up in these search results are many, many other plugins that people made to use with WooCommerce, other e-commerce that are competitors, right? All sorts of stuff. You'll generally find this. It can be a little bit confusing because there's so many search results, but if you're not sure which one to install, my recommendation is look for the plugin that's going to have the most reviews because this is the most widely used and the highest star rating. In this case, WooCommerce I already know is the #1 e-commerce platform on WordPress. But if you didn't know that, you could be looking for the one, again, with the highest reviews and the most number of ratings. You can click on more details next to a plugin, and here the plugin developer is going to tell you about the price, if any, what it does, things like that. There's an FAQ. And if I want to install any of these plugins, then I can click the button Install Now, and it will install, and then you can activate it. The next tab here is the Users tab, and this is where you can create those other users to help you on your website. You're always going to have a default administrative user, which has to be you as the creator of the website. You can see the role here says administrator. And you can create additional users anytime just by clicking the button Add New User, give them a username, enter their email, pick a password. And as you can see here, this is a very random and complicated password. So it is a very secure password. They'll offer this as a default, but of course you can change it if you want. And then once you've entered the password and the rest of the information, you can pick a role, which administrator is the most powerful, all the way down to a subscriber, and then click Add New User, and they get notified with their email address, and it provides them information on how to log in. And lastly, we'll go to settings, where here we can see that these things like the site title and the administrative email address and the time and date settings. Just some basic settings. Sometimes these are auto-populated by your host and they're correct, but you should always go in here just to double check and make sure everything looks good to you. And once you have, click Save Changes at the bottom to save those changes and make sure that they are going to be correct for your time zone and your needs. So with that, that wraps up the formal part of the presentation. I'd be happy to now take your questions about WordPress websites, and we can get through as many questions as we have time for today. Thank you.
We do have a couple of questions, so thanks, Cameron.
Right.
Let's see. Our first question was, what about Weebly? Would you recommend buying a domain through GoDaddy and then building everything on WordPress just to establish an online presence for either the Security Consultant LLC for profit or the nonprofit community? The only product I would sell would be ebooks.
Okay. So I think there's probably two questions there. The first one is about Weebly. And Weebly used to be on my list of competitors, but I took it off this year because it's not as strong as the Wix Squarespace competitors, right? It tries to do that, but it's, in my opinion, it lacks a lot of the features they've implemented, and it's not as a good of a solution. So the main competitors are going to be Wix Squarespace um, and Shopify. And the second part of the question was about buying a domain name on GoDaddy. Maybe you could
Yes.
remind me of the point of the.
Sure. Would you recommend buying a domain through GoDaddy and then building everything on WordPress just to establish an online presence?
Hmm. So if it's your first website for your business and you again want to just establish an online presence, you can definitely grab a domain name at GoDaddy and build a website in WordPress on GoDaddy. I've done that myself dozens of times. It works very well. There are cheaper hosting platforms than GoDaddy out there, but you're only going to save a couple dollars a month. So I do think GoDaddy, as far as its all-around features and good customer service, is a very solid recommendation. As far as just establishing your online presence, you have to be strategic of what does that mean for your business. Um, you might mean you're going to have some information about your products, but not have them for sale. So your e-commerce store won't be active at first, and that's fine. But you want to make sure that if customers or potential customers go to this website, they're not going to be confused or frustrated by it and leave and not become your customers. So be strategic in how you build this kind of temporary or quick website to make sure it meets your goals.
Let's see, next question. When you buy a theme, does it have an expiration date? And when the theme developer updates it, will it affect your website?
That's a great question. So, when you buy a theme, typically it's a one-time purchase price and you buy it forever. So you own it. But some developers, they might release a big update to the theme. And while usually minor updates are just included for free, you just click an update button and minor updates happen. Bigger updates could only be for those who pay for them. So some developers will say, buy the theme for $60. If you want to be an annual pay $60 a year, you'll have access to all the big theme updates. Generally speaking, I don't find this as a necessary thing because usually you'll build a website on a theme and the theme and the code will be mobile friendly and it'll support all the technology right now this year. And in 3 or 4 years or in 5 years, technology might have changed enough to making your website either be kind of slow, or maybe it freezes, or maybe it doesn't display properly anymore. And that's a time that you might want to consider upgrading your theme or paying for, another version of your current theme. But generally speaking, you don't need to do that every year. It just kind of be a waste of money, in my opinion. Most websites will last 5 years or longer without ever really needing an update. That's been my experience. And so the other advantage of paying an annual subscription fee to some of the developers is that you get access to faster technical support. So if you're having lots of questions about how to build a website and you want them to be on your call, on your email list and they'll respond within a day to tech questions, then yes, usually paying for the annual subscription is the best way to get the developer to be responsive. But even if you just buy the domain once, I usually have great success chatting with developers or emailing them questions, and they're usually very responsive. And you can also see the developer ratings and reviews in the Theme Forest marketplace for the themes. And you'll see right there if the developer has a lot of favorable reviews, which means they're very good and very responsive. And you can shy away from themes where those developers don't have good reviews because they might have built a theme and they don't ever really provide the tech support that you might need. So you can do your own research and due diligence with that.
Is there a testing mode to run through workflows like purchase, navigation between pages, etc., without triggering transactions? I imagine this is prudent after plugin updates or any site changes.
Yeah, so if the main goal is to test out the e-commerce shopping but not actually charge credit cards, then WooCommerce does offer a feature like that. It's not really included in the base price, so it's an additional add-on, and I forget exactly how much it is. But one quick and simple way, and what I generally recommend people do, is you just go ahead and make a purchase. You want to test out the order emails, you want to test out download links, you want to test out that order is triggering anything properly. Just make the order, and then you have 24 or 48 hours to just issue a refund within the WooCommerce dashboard to yourself or to whoever made the test order. And there's nobody gets charged anything, right? All the credit card processing fees get annulled. It's just a refund. And if you do it within around 24 hours, nobody gets charged. So that's what I recommend. It's just very simple. You can test it yourself with your live website anytime you want. And because you're logged in as the administrator, you can issue the refund to yourself in Word on the WooCommerce part of WordPress, and just do it all within a couple minutes to test.
Does WooCommerce work well for services rather than products? For example, consulting services or online classes?
So, consulting services and online classes are a little different from each other. There are specific plugins and ways to sell video content packages like online courses. Um, I have not done those in WooCommerce myself. If you're selling like a consulting package that's like a digital service package, then yeah, you can definitely sell digital packages and digital products with WooCommerce. It asks you when you create a product, is this a virtual product? Which you would say yes to because this is the physical thing. And then they would ask, does this have a download with it? Like if you're selling an MP3 file, it would be a virtual and a downloadable product. If you're selling a consulting package, it would be virtual, but not a downloadable product, probably. So those would be your options, and you can definitely sell it. You can set a price for like $1,000 consulting package. It's a virtual product, and then you just work with them on fulfilling that work directly. If it's a video package, it gets more complicated because, are the videos in different modules? Do they have, quizzes attached or some sort of questionnaires attached? Like all of these things make it more complex to put that on an e-commerce website. And there's actually third-party websites like Udemy, which are specifically made for entrepreneurs or anybody to sell their video courses on. So if your main goal is to sell video courses, you might not want to try to build your own website for that unless you feel like there's a real business necessity to. But it'd be much easier to upload those courses and get the money for them on a platform like Udemy, udemy.com. So just a couple of considerations. Yes, of course you can do anything on a WordPress website. It does sometimes take additional time and money if you want fancier features like a course package.
Let's see. How do we back up the website? In the worst case, if the site is hacked or something happens, what is the recovery process?
That's a great question. And one of the first plugins that I often recommend first timers in WordPress start off with is a backup plugin. There's many out there. I don't really have a go-to backup plugin, but there are free ones out there. So you just search for that in the plugin store. One thing you can do is have a button to click manually, and it'll back up everything on your website. And so if you do make a mistake or you delete a page or you mess something up and you can restore the entire website just by clicking one button to restore from any backup. You can also set an automatic backup. So if you'd like it to automatically back up every day or every week, you'll just have a running archive of all these backups, and you can restore from any of them anytime. So I just grab a basic backup plugin. The ones I've used are free, but some have additional features that you might find necessary that you can pay a small fee for.
Next question. I have the old event calendar plugin, but just updated themes. What calendar do you recommend?
So again, there's going to be a lot of different calendars that are available on WordPress. If you just want a basic calendar that works well, then there's the Google Calendar integration, which if you're using the Google Calendar for your business, you want your appointments to go there, then you can integrate that very easily onto a WordPress website. You can also integrate a Microsoft Office 365 calendar or any other cloud calendar that you happen to be using. You would just search for a plugin for Google Calendar or Microsoft Calendar. There are lots of different ones out there, and I don't have a go-to one I would recommend, but you can just take a look in the plugin store and see which one has the most number of reviews and the highest star rating, and that's probably the one you should go with.
Let's see. How could you integrate advertisements in your website?
Well, this is probably a pretty broad question. I think depending on your industry and what your good or service is, there's a lot of different tools and techniques. There's banners, which are not very popular anymore, but I'm sure we all remember them. There's like pop-ups that can notify you of a sale or promotion going on. So many techniques. I think that would probably be a better question for just a discussion with me if you had additional details about your goals and your type of business. And so one thing I'll mention here is that if you would like to chat with me as a follow-up, then the email address is help@virginiasbdc.org. And this will also be emailed to you in the presentation file. So you can
It's in the
just,
chat as well.
yeah, thank you. And so you can just say you asked the question to me in the webinar and you'd like to follow up, and I can chat with you about that.
Perfect. Let's see. Okay, this one's probably too much for here, but I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. My WordPress website is not working. How can I redo it versus paying someone?
Yeah, well, again, I could probably troubleshoot a bit more, but it's not going to be able to happen here with the audience. So why don't you follow up with me? Just email us and we'll get you in touch with me, and then I can see how I can help.
Okay, and the next question, let me know if you need more information. Do you service WordPress websites in terms of updating a website? Clarify that you can use .org, but site is .com on WordPress.
Yeah, I'm not r really sure of the question.
Okay, I'm going
Yeah,
to ask the
maybe they could
person
just
who put that.
rephrase the
Yeah,
question. Thank you.
if you could rephrase that question, the
Yeah.
person who, but it's anonymous, I'm not sure who.
Hmm.
Let's see, any recommendations on hosting platforms?
So GoDaddy is solid, reliable. They've been around forever. They're very large. Google also is a reliable host for the most part. So if you're already using Google and Gmail, you might prefer that. They're not the cheapest though. Bluehost is a really good one for price. If that's your main consideration, they're usually a few dollars cheaper per month. And another one is called Hostinger, Hostinger. Apologies if you hear the jet airplanes, they fly over my house every now and then. Um, so yeah, hostinger.com is another one that I like. Again, there's thousands out there. So you might, if you have a certain need or preference, you could research and look for like a list of the top 10. But the ones I just mentioned, Google, GoDaddy, Bluehost, and Hostinger, they're all really good. Some are cheaper than others. So you can just look into each of those and see which one would work best for you.
We have about 20 minutes and about 10 questions. Let's see.
Mhm.
I have an old WordPress account and never use it. Do I need to delete the existing one or just update, edit based on business need?
Yeah, so I think you're saying you have an old WordPress website when you say a hosting
I'm sorry.
account.
Yeah, this says WordPress account, but yeah.
A WordPress account. So probably a website, an old website. Um, yeah, that's what I was saying. If it's more than 4 or 5 years old, it's probably outdated technologically so much that it's not worth trying to spiff it up to make it look good because it's under the tech underneath is going to be problematic. If not now, then probably in a year or two. So I think that's a good time to reinvest and research for a new template and build a much more modern looking website that's going to perform really well for the next 5 years or so.
See, what do you recommend if you want to buy copyrighted photos or a stock of them or free ones to choose from for blog posts, blogs issued quarterly, for example, that can be updated and edited as necessary in WordPress?
So there's a lot of great websites to find stock photos. I think that's what you're asking for is where do you find stock photos for different topics and subjects? Um, I don't really have a stock photo website that's my go-to one. I've used many in the past, and if you just Google free stock photos, you probably don't even need to pay for them at this point. There are so many good free ones that no matter what your subject is, you'll likely find free stock photos that you can use on a website. You can also, if it works for you, think about using AI to generate photos. This is becoming increasingly popular, and I think a lot of AI generated photos with either ChatGPT or with Google's Gemini are pretty indistinguishable from stock photos. So you can decide, which route you want to go. But any photos or images you generate using AI, you own legally and you're able to use on a website, copyright free. So that's another option.
I have a domain for my email. Can I utilize that domain, or do you recommend obtaining a different one for my website?
Well, generally, I recommend staying with the same domain because if this is for your business and you have, say, contact at, mybusiness.com at your email, it makes a lot of sense to have your website at yourbusiness.com, not to pick a new domain. Because if somebody sees your email, they might research and type in the domain name, so they want to see your website, right? They don't want to have nothing there for a website. So unless you have some interesting or odd reason for having two different domains, I would definitely recommend you just use the one that you have already and build a website there.
In the web page design with AI, is there any copyright issues if some other business uses WordPress to design their website also, and the two are similar?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It's a legal gray area, as in almost all AI generated output, from text to images to videos to this kind of thing. It all comes down to where did WordPress train its AI model on? Like, did it train it on Microsoft's website? And is Microsoft gonna prove that, you stole parts of its website? I think it's very unlikely that this will ever be an issue for the end users because, if you're using a GoDaddy or WordPress, really they're on the hook for legal things. They've got a legal team, they're doing their due diligence, they have a reputation to uphold. But I can't be 100% sure what's going to happen in the future. I just know there's a lot of debate and there's a lot of court cases ongoing about the copyright issues around everything AI generated, which would include AI generating websites.
Next question. Does WordPress offer an option for staging sites so that you're not making changes, assume on the actual product or the actual website?
Yeah. That's a great question. So this term staging site is a good thing to bring up. It just basically means you're building your first website. You want to test it, but you don't want it launched yet. That would be in a staging area, staging site. Or if you have an existing website and you're building a major revamp of it and you want to do that hidden, that's like in a staging site. So yes, you definitely can do that with WordPress. It is something that you set up with your host. So Google, GoDaddy, Bluehost, Hostinger, those hosts I mentioned, they will have an option. Usually you have to pay a little bit of money for it, but it says, I want to create a staging site. And then they will give you a login. It's like a private website until you're ready to launch it. And then you can usually just click a button that says, I want to launch this. And it's no longer then in the staging environment. It's then pushed live to the internet.
Let's see. Is there a plugin to help with? I think they meant with SEO. It says SOE,
Yeah.
unless I missed. Okay.
Yes, there definitely are plugins. There are many plugins that help you with SEO and do a variety of things, including scanning your website text and looking at trends, search trends, and helping you find more relevant keywords, which is a key part of SEO, or finding those grammar or spelling errors that could be decreasing your score, or even finding if you have a new inbound link that you didn't even know about, it can alert you and say, hey, this website just linked to yours. So there's a bunch out there. One that I have used in the past is called Yoast, Yoast, Yoast. And it was fine. I don't think that I would recommend it wholeheartedly. I think you should do your own research because there's a lot out there. And there's people out there that are more experts with SEO than me, so they have different viewpoints. But I do think just, do a little bit of research. And Yoast is one that's at least mid range. It's not horrible. Maybe it's not the best either. So I think you just do a little bit of research and you'll find the one that works for your price and also what you're trying to achieve with your SEO.
How is data like transactions, site analytics collected and stored on WordPress sites?
Great question. So you asked two things about data on transactions, so like product sales and data on analytics. So they're stored in different ways. Product sales data is stored with your e-commerce plugin. So let's assume you went with WooCommerce, the one I showed. Then WooCommerce is storing the sales data. So they can provide you with reports. They can provide you with end of year tax statements. They do a lot. They do a lot for you. So they do collect the data and they store that with them. The analytics data would be collected with whoever you're using to collect it. So generally Google Analytics is the biggest plugin, and then Google was collecting the analytics, and Facebook has the second largest analytics plugin called Facebook Pixel. So you're probably going to use either Google or Facebook, in which case either Google or Facebook will be collecting the data. And you might be wondering, well, how do they use the data? They each have their own privacy terms and conditions, which is probably 100 pages of legal speak that you won't understand, but they're going to describe in that what they're going to do with your data. So if you're interested, you can read their terms and conditions. But yes, it's stored with one of those two companies.
Let's see. As a startup, would you recommend using the WordPress.com for free hosting with my business name as a subdomain for simple public presence announcement only?
I wouldn't really, because the problem there is if you're going to move forward with your business, you're going to want a real domain name, not hosted at WordPress.com with your own branding, with all the features you get with the WordPress.org website. And you can't really just easily transition, it's like it's a whole hassle. So I definitely recommend just start with a WordPress.org website. It can be very quick. You could research, go find a theme that you like. And if you didn't want to spend 5 or 10 hours like setting it all up, you could always hire a freelance developer. They'd be happy to do that. And it'd charge you, for a simple website, generally around $600 to $1,000, and they would just do it all for you. So you can decide, but I wouldn't start with WordPress.com, especially if you think your business will grow and you're going to need to expand. Just skip yourself the headache and kind of plan for that right now.
Before deleting my website data, can I create a new theme pages and not publish the pages until everything is completed? They're thinking it would probably take a few days instead of just a few hours to do it.
Yeah. So if your existing website is getting traffic every day and you don't want it to be in the middle of construction for a couple of days, then you want to do what we talked about, have a staging site. And that will allow you to build your new website version hidden, only you get to it or people you share. And it won't be searchable by search engines, it won't be found. And then you can take your time, and when you're ready, you can swap it over. But some business websites that never get any traffic, in which case it doesn't really matter. Like if nobody is looking at your website, who cares if it's in the process of being built for a few days? So you can make the own decision whether or not you have traffic or you don't have any traffic.
And here is the earlier when we asked for a
Mm.
clarification. I'm going to read what I first read and then read what just came through. Let's see. So the first was, do you service WordPress websites in terms of updating a website? Clarify that you can use .org, but site is .com on WordPress. And then clarify whether a website, example, me@you.com, is built using WordPress.org, but hosted on its own .com domain rather than being hosted directly on WordPress.com. They further said, you said the former .org is better than the latter .com.
Yeah, yeah, we might need to take that conversation offline, but I think if I understood correctly, the question is if you have a .com domain name for your business, can you use the WordPress.org technology that I've been showing here today? And the answer to that is yes. But if I misunderstood your question, I think you should follow up in an email, and probably just a chat over the phone would get to the bottom of it really, really quickly. So thank you.
I think we have covered them all. Let's see, just going through. I think we've gotten them all. So if there are any other questions, I would recommend you drop them in right now. Well, we still have 7 minutes. Oh, here we go. Any thoughts on platforms like Replit, Replit?
I'm not very familiar with Replit or what it specifically does, so I don't have any thoughts on that one.
Okay. And yes, I think that question that clarified, again, it's anonymous attendee. I'm not sure, but I think the question was answered. Let's see. A lot of thank yous. I agree. So I'll let you give us some last words of wisdom while we see if any more questions pop in.
Yeah, so I think just stay curious. AI is going to change a lot of building websites this year and next year. So if you have a website or you're building one, just stay aware of the news and try out new platforms. I mean, it can be WordPress, but all the other ones I mentioned, the competitors are going to be launching new AI assisted features of building and maintaining websites. So it'll be a lot of changes this year, and it'll be interesting to see how it all develops.
Let's see if we have anything else. Oh, Replit is an AI chat-based site generation.
Right, so probably directly competing with WordPress's AI. You type what you want, and then the AI builds a website. So, yeah, I think that there's going to be dozens, if not more than dozens, of competitors to this idea like Replit. They could be good. I haven't used Replit myself, but that's definitely in some form or another is probably the future of website development.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. That was a lot.
Well, thank you everybody for your
Um,
questions.
I think that's it. All right. So yeah, thank you so much, Cameron. As always, such great information. I had dropped the link to the next webinar into the chat earlier. We already have some signups. So you all just keep looking at our website for more digital webinars coming. Thanks again, Cameron. Thanks everyone who joined us today. As a reminder, you're going to receive an email with a link to this recording and to the slides. And you can always check our website at any time to look up old webinars that we have posted at virginiasbdc.org/training. This webinar and other SBDC resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors. You can sign up for a free and confidential session or ask questions for Cameron by emailing help@virginiasbdc.org or via our website. And we hope to see you all at our next session. Take care, everyone.
Thanks everybody. Bye bye.